Okay, so there's 4 steps essentially to processing any sort of piece of information. And also you could describe this as there's 4 steps to achieving or realizing mastery in any skill, the performance of any skill, the performance of any art, the realization of any piece of information, any concept. There's 4 steps to the realization process. And those 4 steps are unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. The first step in the realization of anything is realizing that we don't know what we don't know. Realizing that we are unconscious of the things that we are incompetent in. That there's so many things going on in the universe. There's so many things going on in our lives. There's so many different pieces of information, so many different skills to be learned, so many different realities that are occurring at the same time for us in this life. And the first step is realizing that we don't know what we don't know. There's so much out there, and we don't know what we don't know. This is the first step in realizing, processing any piece of information, or realizing mastery in any skill. Number 1, unconscious incompetence. Realizing that we do not know what we do not know. This is very important. The second step is called conscious incompetence. What the first step leads us to realize is that we know that we don't know. We know. So this step occurs basically when we realize that, hey, there's a certain skill out there, but I don't know how to perform it. There's an art out there, but I don't know how to do it. There's an idea out there, but I don't understand it. This is the second step. It's called conscious incompetence. The third step is called conscious competence. This is after we learn an idea. We first learn a skill. We first get exposed to an idea. This is called conscious competence. We are aware that this skill or this piece of information exists, and we understand it. We have now learned about it. We know how to explain it, and we know how to perform the skill. However, it takes conscious application. It takes an application of the conscious mind or conscious effort to perform the skill, to understand or communicate the piece of information or the concept, to apply the concept into our lives, to perform the art. We know it, and we kind of know how to do it, but we have to really think about it to be able to do it. We have to really consciously put forth effort to execute the skill, or to not imply, to put the piece of information to work in our lives, to apply the information to our lives. We have to consciously put effort. This is called conscious competence. And a third step is called unconscious competence. This is actually what I believe, based on my understanding, to be level 1 mastery, basically, where we become so familiar with the concept, with the idea, with the skill, that we no longer have to rely on our conscious mind to perform it. This is called unconscious competence. This is the first step to mastery. This is the first step to realization of anything, is unconscious competence. This is the place that we want to get to. The reality is most people are unconsciously competent at all the wrong things in their lives, and they're unconscious of it because they're so competent at these habits that they have built over the course of their lives, and they just do it every day, but they don't even realize it. But the state that we want to get to is where we realize a piece of information, or we understand a skill so well that we don't even have to think, and we just do it. This is like the the master pianist playing a marvelous classical piece of music on the piano, while at the same time being able to hold a conversation. This is any master performing his art. And we can also get to this point when it comes to, and this is very important also, is applying any piece of information or any concept to our lives. We want to get to this unconscious competence level where we understand the idea so well that we don't even have to try. We don't even have to consciously exert ourselves to apply it in our lives. It becomes basically second nature for us. This is where we want to get. And so a good example to explain this concept is to use the idea of a baby walking, for example. When we're first born, we don't know how to walk, and we don't even know that we don't know how to walk. We don't even know what walking is, or that walking is even a thing. We're just born, we exist, and we crawl around, and this is unconscious incompetence. We don't even know that we don't know that we don't even know what we don't know. We don't even know what walking is. Then at a certain point of the baby's career in life, the baby sees all these people walking, and a lot of this process goes on instinctually for the baby, but it's the same thing when it comes to processing any piece of information in our lives. At a certain point, the baby realizes, wait a second, all these people are doing something. All these people are walking and I can't walk. That's the second step in realizing this stuff, or realizing anything, which is called conscious incompetence. It's realizing like, hey, walking's a thing, but I don't know how to do it. Consciously incompetent. Then over time, the baby learns the skill of walking through trial and error, crawling, standing on its feet, falling, getting up, trying to walk again and again and again and again and again, and eventually the baby takes its first step on its own. And that's called conscious competence. The baby is competent in the art of walking, but he or she has to consciously try hard to balance when he stands on his 2 feet. To balance, to put one foot in front of the other, to hold steady, to direct himself in a certain way, to orient his body in a certain way. He understands how to walk, but the baby's got to consciously put forth a lot of effort to actually stand on his 2 feet and move. This is the third step, called conscious competence. The fourth step, which is the step that we all ideally want to get to when it comes to really truly realizing any piece of information, any concept, or the mastery of any skill, any art, is called unconscious competence. This is where we understand a concept so well that we apply it in our lives naturally, where we don't even have to try anymore. We just know it, and it's part of us. It's part of ourselves. It becomes part of ourselves, and we just apply it in our lives without even thinking. There's no conscious effort that even has to be exerted in the application of whatever it is, or in the performance of any skill. This is true mastery. I guess from what I understand, this is level 1 mastery. This is how you get like a master pianist who can play this beautiful classical piece of music on the piano that to your average Joe is basically impossible, but to him it's effortless, and he can play it, not only play it extremely well, but also have a conversation at the same time as playing it. This is mastery. This is unconscious competence. He no longer has to consciously focus on the notes, consciously really look at the keys. He just knows it in his body. This is unconscious competence. This is mastery level 1. And again, there are 4 steps to the realization of any piece of information. And those steps are unconscious incompetence. You don't know, we don't know what we don't know. The second step, conscious incompetence, realizing that we don't know. The third step, conscious competence, starting to learned an idea, but we got to consciously put forth thought, energy, and effort to execute the idea, to explain the idea, to apply the idea into our lives, to execute the skill, etc. This is the third step, conscious competence. And so how do we get from conscious competence to mastery? How do we get from being average to being a master? From what I understand, there's two ways, and they make perfect sense. The first way is doing something over and over and over and over and over and over again. Repetition. It's simple. Repetition. This is how we become a master. Doing something so often, so much that it becomes ingrained in our subconscious mind, out of our physical mind. We no longer have to use our brain power to execute the skill. We no longer have to use conscious exertion of effort to execute the skill, to apply the information to our lives, to communicate the concept. We just know it in our being, in our gut, in our solar plexus. So that's one way, doing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, practicing something over and over and over and over and over and over again, and eventually we get to a point where it's essentially effortless and we just do it. The other way to get from conscious competence to unconscious competence, to get from average, to get from understanding, simply understanding an idea, to realizing it, to get from simply being able to perform a skill to becoming exceptional at the skill, level 1 mastery, is, again, the first step is doing it over and over again. And the second step is actually observing somebody else who is a master at doing whatever it is, or learning from someone who is a master at the information that you are trying to master. Observing them. Observation of another master, of somebody else doing whatever it is that you want to learn. Observing them time after time after time again. In other words, this can be called apprenticeship. Being an apprentice to a master. Another way to communicate this would be mentorship, being a mentor of a master. Having a mentor that is a master. This is the other way to achieve unconscious competence in any skill. Mentorship, apprenticeship. So, what else do I want to say? In life, there's so much going on, and we don't know what we don't know. This is huge. To most people, when you would say that, it's like, yeah, I don't know what I don't know. But the magnitude of that statement is not to be understated. It is to be fully understood. We must go through life realizing that there's so much going on in this existence and that we don't know what we don't know. And then when we realize that there's something out there that exists that we don't know, we become consciously competent. And if it feels aligned, if we desire to pursue knowledge in that subject, if we desire to pursue exceptionalism and mastery in the execution of a certain art or a certain skill, then in order to become consciously competent, it's unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence. Then to get from conscious incompetence to conscious competence, we actually have to learn. We have to learn how to do it. Learn the piece of information, study, practice. And then to get from conscious competence to unconscious competence, where it becomes second nature to us, where we play the piano masterfully and have a conversation at the same time, where we any skill really, where we can perform any skill with such mastery that we don't even have to consciously think about it. To get from conscious competence to unconscious competence, we either have to, one, do it over and over and over and over and over and over again, or two, become an apprentice to a master and observe the master in his daily life, in their daily life, doing whatever it is over and over again. This is the 4 steps to processing information in our lives. It's also coincidentally, that's not the right word. It's also coincidingly the 4 steps to realizing mastery, I believe, in any given idea or skill. Okay, Love you all. Enjoy the beautifulness.